OTT space continued to boom this year with movies and shows across the spectrum trending on the charts. From biopics to crime to small town stories, there was something for everyone. Sarbh had an eclectic digital year with Rocket Boys, Eternally Confused and Eager for Love, and Four More Shots Please. Sayani Gupta and Kirti Kulhari did memorable turns portraying women with agency in Four More Shots Please and Human. Harshvadhan Kapoor delivered his labour of love with the western Thar that he acted in and produced. Amol Parashar delighted his fans with reprising Chitvan in TRIPLING'S Season 3. All 5 actors assembled for an insightful conversation into the industry. Welcome to the OTT Stars Roundtable. We have Harshvadhan Kapoor, Sayani Gupta, Sarbh, Kirti Kulhari, Amol Parashar. So glad all of you made it on the table. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
having us.
Thank you. So this has been the first year of normalcy post-COVID, and the show went on even when the world was on pause. As actors, how have you emerged out of the pandemic?
So one thing that's really changed during the pandemic is the fact that OTT has, really boomed, right? And it's become like your go-to for everybody. So the numbers and the kind of traffic you see on OTT has really increased during COVID times, and I think that's been a great boon for all of us. I think the first 6 months were tough for the industry in the sense that you have to shoot, you have to step out. So there was no shooting in that sense. But I think we were one of the first industries to sort of resume work and do what we are supposed to do. And I think we have actually been individually part of some very interesting projects. So I think opportunities is something that's really been offered to us. If I talk about myself, I've done a bunch of things which people have really enjoyed. They're different genres. So I think it feels great that finally, you are able to sort of get the chance to do what you want to do, and people are there to, people have the time to, people have found a way to sort of find you, and really I think people have also found good content during the pandemic, right? And I think and you are seeing an effect of that now, where something which is not so good is being rejected outright, right? So people have got the time and the mind to sort of differentiate between what they want, what they don't want, what is good, what is not good. So I think that's professionally it's been a great boon actually.
Would you say we're in the golden era of OTT, or do you think was that last year? Is it yet to come? What do you feel?
Depends on how you define golden. I have a very different kind of perspective to this. Of course, the quantity of work for all actors and technicians and makers have sort of exploded, and there's been a boom, there's no sort of doubt about that, but not necessarily the quality. I think in spite of this, like the volume of work, I can't remember the last time I was blown by something that's been made in the country. I mean, of course, there are obviously independent films or regional films, or, or there is one show or 2 shows, but it's not in proportion with the amount of work that's happening.
It's not enough, yeah.
And I feel that, and I have, obviously, we actors, us, we speak a lot in terms of what's happening, what's the direction, you speak to your filmmaker friends. And I think because of the pressure of constantly just churning out stuff, there is less time devoted to individual shows or films and less time devoted to the writing of it. There is a big show that was like one of the best shows that's come out of the country. It was made the first season was made over 5 years. But the second season of the same show, I'm not going to say which one, was like the whole thing from writing
We all
to
know. Yeah.
show and the execution and the release, it was done in 8 months, So of course it will sort of hamper the quality when you don't devote that kind of time, and which is something that I feel, I mean, it's my sense of it. But again, having said that, I'm very, very grateful that most of the people I know have a lot of work now, and you have the sort of privilege in a way to say no to a lot of work because the quantity is so much. So it's definitely a great space to be in.
It's still a new medium. People are still finding their voices. People are still figuring out how to play with the medium. I mean, we've understood short films to an extent and we've understood feature films to an extent, but we're still figuring out long form storytelling. It's a whole different mentality, really, in terms of both writing and execution. It's a miracle that anything gets made, frankly. Well, I really think so.
Yeah,
when I'm on the set sometimes and I'm watching at the things going wrong and the little problems and the budget issues and just so many thousands of things that come together, it's just a miracle that anything gets made. And something good, it's like, oh, my good God. So I think that writers will, showrunners, producers will continue to take gambles on, there's so many things to explore it can be episodic, it can be a longer story over 5 seasons, it can be cold openings each time. I mean, you can go into little side stories momentarily. Anything is possible within the fabric of this world. It's just we are still exploring the medium. So I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the golden age. I think the golden age is yet to come.
Amol, once you were known for tripling, right, and you got your sizable social media following, and do you feel that fame as a currency can really get you a foot in the door when it comes to casting, when it comes to opportunities, especially with regard to social media?
Why not?
I think, I mean, I speak to a bunch of people, and especially the people who are trying to get into it and all of that, and they all have one thing to say, that it's really become one of the major criterias for people to be cast. Yeah. Because if you already have a good following, then you are popular already, right? And that sort of helps move things forward more quickly.
Yeah,
so yes,
free advertising.
It's a legit thing. Like people, I mean, literally when they go for whatever screen tests or meetings or whatever, they're actually asked, "What's your handle and what's your following like?" That's one of the legit questions there.
But that's just very unfortunate for actors.
No, but what actors always cast for their popularity? I don't know if
But what if
is
you're,
this new?
But what if you're a newcomer?
Popularity on social media
what
is
if
like
what
the
if you were a
following,
newcomer
like
in the
how many millions
90s?
you have, I don't have
Yeah,
a
but
million.
that's what I'm saying. It was
I mean,
tougher.
I believe right now in 2022 a newcomer still has a chance to increase their social media following
a much higher
and become
chance to
popular
also
and
be
get cast.
because there's so much
In the
work.
90s there was no way. This is at least I think it's a little more democratic than it
Yeah,
used to
you
be,
think so?
because Bhuvan Bam from Delhi, Prajakta Kohli from Thane, they can become famous and get cast. In the 90s there was no, you had to stand outside Mehboob Studios and throw your pictures into producers' cars.
But now it's, of course, you're saying that's always been the case, that popularity is given
And now there's a
importance.
metric for your popularity. You can show how popular you are by showing your...
But what
your
if you're
social
an
media.
amazing actor and you
Then
have like
what happens to
200,
talent?
like 20,000
amazing
followers or
actors, even in their
21,000.
70s and 80s of Bollywood, I'm sure they were losing out to
No, but
more
even,
popular
I think
actors.
even us, for that matter, like we were good at what we were doing, and it's taken
For
forever for us to
considerable
find our,
amount of
you
time,
know,
you
so
know.
that's
I'm saying it is. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that it is better than it used to be. If when I look at it objectively, when I sit down and see mathematically, I think it's better than it used
That's
to be.
only because you have a lot of followers. Shut up.
I mean, I'm sure you have more than me, but because I can get followers now, I have the opportunity to. I will work on my talent, but I can also, with followers, get some work. If I didn't have this, वो talent prove करने के बाद भी मुझे काम नहीं मिलता. अभी भी नहीं मिलता है बहुत बार.
Harsh, how do you view the social media game? Do you play it? I know it's just about sport for you mostly.
I don't really do. I mean, I am obviously active on all of these things, but I don't really live my life in a way that is going to kind of suddenly. I'm not doing things out of my kind of. I'm not aiming to be like a social media star or anything like that. I just try and kind of just do the kind of work that I believe in. And I think I've kind of been very privileged and lucky in a position to kind of, be able to be patient and really persevere to kind of do the one piece at a time. And because they were earlier talking about how there's a lot of pressure to, the season 1 and the season 2 example that Sayani gave, for example. Luckily for me, I've kind of used my privilege to really do one thing at a time, try and kind of get it made the way that I'd like to, and followed a very different kind of journey in that sense. But I think he's right. It definitely does. It does matter for sure. I know that people kind of look at it.
I will have to accept it. We'll have to accept it.
You can't ignore it, but then you don't have to live by it. Like you can still do.
But like I wouldn't do a film just because I think it's going to reach out to a lot of people that maybe some of my existing work hasn't reached out to, because it's going to boost my social media numbers. You know what I mean? I don't get into that vicious cycle of that game, really.
I'm sure that all of it has its place and is involved and all of that kind of stuff, but I do think that if you're really, really good, you will get cast regardless of your social media following. You'll get cast. They'll continue to push you in the realm of please increase your following. Your managers will push you to that, mostly because it's monetizable and it's free advertising for the producers. And they feel that it guarantees a certain base. It's all just commercial. It's just every part of. We like to pretend it's so many other things, but it's really just purely commercial. I mean, if you want the followers and it brings you pleasure to be on Instagram and to do it, then you should. But if you're worried that that's the only thing that'll get you cast, then I don't think you should believe that either.
So it can supplement talent, but it can't be the only criteria.
See, it is going to be a criteria for certain people making those decisions. You can sit and complain, or you can just hope to work with the other people who don't use that criteria. And I would rather work with the people who don't. And there are the filmmakers who probably want to make good films with good actors. They might not be looking at my Instagram profile. They might just be looking at my screen test or my reading or my other work. And that's the person I want to work with anyway. So that's a different world. That's a different kind of work. That's a different kind of project altogether, where the numbers don't matter. And when the numbers matter, or only the numbers matter, then they don't want me anyway. They don't want your acting skill or whatever. Number dekha, aa jao. That's a different door altogether.
Fair enough.
So I guess there are different kinds of projects and different kinds of people sitting behind those doors.
If you start doing one thing, there'll always be another thing that, so
Exactly.
there is no, there are all kinds of people, and I think whatever works for you and rocks your boat. And
I think she's absolutely right,
You reach 1 million and Cristiano Ronaldo has 500.
Exactly.
So now what are you going to do with this 1 million?
But I really would be very happy if I ever
That's with anything
reach
in
1
life
million.
though. You earn a certain kind of money, the other person has more. That's
Yeah, exactly.
So you should pick and do the things that resonate with you
Correct.
and hope for whatever gains you get.
You had a very diverse year this year. You
I've
gave
been in
us
all kinds of things.
Yeah, isn't it mad? You had some 3 very different series that came out. How fulfilled are you creatively?
I've been in different things, many different kinds of things. One was voice acting, that was really fun. One was a lot more serious and a lot more work, and that was also very fun. And one was, at times a holiday in Italy.
With these 2 ladies,
And while doing that show, I was thinking, why am I, because of my childhood trauma of wanting to succeed or, push myself and grow and learn and, all of these kinds of things. I whip myself with these standards. And sometimes it's fun to just be in Italy on a holiday and, do the scene because it's easy.
Below your standard.
No, it was awesome. It was easy.
We had the best time.
For me, my part in it was easy. I don't know about you guys.
You were outstanding. I thought,
But it was so easy. It was in English. It was in English mostly.
Sean was my favorite.
It was just, so similar to who I am anyway. I didn't have to go deeply into the line learning. It was just easy. And
but it was also solid work,
it was
at the same time.
Okay, so speaking of fun, Amol, TVF, one of the most seminal series that we have when it comes to web series. And your charm, really adds to that show. But
to work on that charm, does it become counterintuitive by the third season?
To work on the charm?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I need to work on the charm.
Sorry, okay.
I just keep it inside, that's all.
Okay,
Most of the
okay.
time I bring it outside when I need to. One thing is that this show that you're talking about, Tripling, first season was in 2016, second season was in 2019, and third season is in 2022. So it's been 3 years apart. And in the nature of the show, it's a family, 3 siblings, now it's a family, we're exploring other characters also. They all kind of meet after 2-3 years and catch up with each other's lives. So when we are doing the show, the on-screen and the off-screen is kind of the same energy, because it's like old friends, family, Sumit, Manvi, me. We know each other even before Tripling, like for a decade now. So we're like friends who don't get to catch up with each other anymore, because we're all busy and we have work, which we never imagined we'll all have at the same time, which is what she was talking about. We all have work at the same time. We're all busy actors. We have livelihoods at the same time. So now it's actually, much easier than anything else we do, I think, for all of us. It doesn't feel like work at all. It's like being with family, it's going on a holiday. And we make this joke. Sumit makes this joke कि जैसे ही हम लोग catch up करने का मन करता है ना, बहुत टाइम से मिले नहीं है, किसकी लाइफ में क्या चल रहा है, I don't know what's happening, and I'm almost like, let's just write a season, yeah. Let's just go away for 25 days, because otherwise, where are you getting the time to go away for 25 days, sit in the hills, have chai, smoke a cigarette, talk to each other about each other's lives? That's not happening. So and these are, thankfully, luckily, a very nice set of people. We all know each other for such a long period of time. Even the parents this time, Kunal, it is a ball. We have a ball on set, and it is not in terms of kisne kis pe kya prank kar diya, वैसा ball नहीं है ये.
No,
This is a very homely, very, we can be honest to each other. We can talk about deep issues of life and the fun things and the bad things. And that is an experience that you don't get anywhere else, because everything else is work.
But Harsh, speaking about the year that you had with Thar, it was spoken about, your role seemed like it was tailor-made for you. Was this an opportunity that came to you, or an opportunity that you sought out?
Thar has had a really interesting journey. I read the script for the first time in 2017, 5 years ago. And Vikramaditya Motwani and Anurag Kashyap was doing Bhavesh Joshi Superhero at the time, and Vikram was editing the film, and this was a film that they wanted to produce at Phantom Films. It was called Rorav at that time. And Raj Singh Chaudhary, new director, actor himself in Gulal and other films. It was his kind of dream to kind of make this film, and I read the script at that time and I really liked it. And then unfortunately Phantom all of them went their separate ways. And so it kind of happened by chance, where I was in a position where if I didn't persevere at that time to kind of get that film made, I don't think that we would be here today, So honestly, it was for a year and a half, Raj and I just went to many producers that turned us away. This was 2017, right? So I think the OTT thing really happened in the middle of 2018, if I'm not mistaken, with Sacred Games and stuff like that. So for the first year that we were pitching it around, it was that the film is too violent for cinemas. There's a lot of violence, there's a lot of sex, there are no songs, the hero, the protagonist is very quiet, and you don't know if he's the protagonist or the antagonist until the last 5 or 10 minutes of the film or whatever. So it was not a very producer-friendly film at all, and not a cheap film as well, so that's a dangerous combination. So for about a year and a half, we just went from door to door, conversations would kind of go a little forward, and then people would kind of get cold feet, and I felt very kind of deflated at that time, honestly. Then we just kind of kept persevering, and one day Bunty Walia actually came to offer me a film, a theatrical film, a romantic film, and I said, this is not really my thing, but I have a script, would you want to read it? And he really liked it, and then we did a test shoot. That test shoot made its way to Netflix. At that time, there was a woman called Shrishti Bell that was working at Netflix, and she liked the test shoot. And then we started crunching the numbers, and in that year and a half that Raj and I spent together, just alone basically, the script had become a lot better, and it had kind of become more specific to me, and the way he saw the film started evolving. And then in 2019 we got financing. So it took a year and a half to first get the money in place. And then COVID happened in March 2020. And Rajasthan, you can only shoot in the cold months. But that year was a blessing in disguise because we got to really even make the script a lot better, do more recce's, really kind of technically make sure that the film ends up looking the way that it did. And then we went and shot in 21 and now we're here. So it's been a mad, mad
But you
ride.
really stuck to
very
it,
inspiring.
and you didn't have to look at other projects in the meanwhile.
So the only I did AK versus AK and I did Spotlight with Vasan Bala.
Yep.
Those kind of came out of the blue, but this was the one thing that I was like, this is the one. You know, I have to do this film, and a lot of times, you know, sometimes Netflix would come on and say that, you know, can you change this? Can you change that? Or my dad would be like, you know, obviously because he's such a big part of the film and we co-produced it, can you? But Raj and I were very kind of clear, and Raj was new, and I really trusted in his vision, and he trusted in the way that I saw the film, so we would fight for each other. You know, sometimes I would fire the gun off his shoulder, sometimes mine, but sometimes we would listen and take feedback and make it better. So Thar is really a labor of love, and it's a team film. You know, I think it's as much my father's film as it's mine, as it's Raj's, and Shreya Dev Dubey now is
She just won, right? An award.
the Asian Academy.
Actually, she won 2 awards.
Yeah,
right?
but the Asian Academy is like the really the huge one. So that, she was a first-time cinematographer. Raj, more or less, they've done Shadistan, but first-time director in a way. Such a big film, and all new people like Mukti Mohan, new, and so yeah, I mean, besides Dad and Satish Kaushik, all new people, and you know now. So my journey has been like quite different in that sense, and a lot of times I wanted to leave and be like, because it's not going to happen, or you guys are changing it too much, but then you keep persevering, and then sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. So luckily, this time it's worked out, you know.
You were also producer on the film. I remember
Yeah.
your dad saying that I just sat back and relaxed because I'd be like, Harsh, take care of this, and Harsh, you know, whatever Harsh said, I'd do, and I wasn't really, you know.
No, I think he
kind
just
of
gave up
interfering.
after a point. That was definitely not the attitude initially. But he was just like, man, this guy's not going to listen to me. So I'm going to go and do my thing, and if it's shit, he takes the blame. Wash my hands off him. That was more basically what it was. But luckily it's worked out, so now he has to make whatever film I want, no matter how niche it is. No matter how.
Kirti, you turned producer this year too. Congratulations.
What did you produce?
Thank you.
Naika.
So is that empowering?
That's an amazing space to be in. I have a short film called Rest of the Night on Hotstar right now, which I've also co-produced. And my first feature as a co-producer is called Naika, which is a dark comedy, and I'm also acting in that. And that's something that will be coming out in 2023. So it really is, you know, I think I was reaching a stage where, I mean, I've done a bunch of, you know, things in the last 3 years, especially during the whole COVID times, and done a bunch of series. You know, series take a lot out of you because they just tend to go on forever. You know, there's so much that goes into it. So I was like I think I was at a point where I'm like, I need to take a break. I need to, and every time you do a piece of work, you want the next one to be better than what you've done before, right? So the search for something better is not the easiest one, you know, in the industry. You really have to, you know, as Sayani was saying earlier, that it looks like there's a lot of work happening, and everybody is busy, but are they busy doing the best work? Not necessarily so. So if you are someone who wants to wait it out and wait for the right thing, then you again, there's a different cue for that, you know. Yeah. So you play a different game, and I think I was realizing that as an actor, I could do what I could do, but apart from my performance, there's nothing else which is really in my control, right? I don't know how all the pieces of that are coming together to make it into something that I thought it should become, or it could just turn out whatever, you know. So I think I slowly reached a point where I'm like, you know, why don't I sort of try and find stories that are interesting to me, and get a team together, you know, one by one, literally like picking and choosing people to put together a team and make the kind of content that I would be like, okay, this is something that I'm proud of, right? On the other hand, I mean, while you sit back and complain and whine about, you know, चीज़ें ऐसी हैं, वैसी हैं, this is not working, that is not working, this is shit and this is crap. I'm like, can I actually, after this experience, I'll either stop complaining or I will, you know, I will show people that there's a different way.
Okay.
So it can, you know, it can just go either ways.
Yeah.
Both ways good.
Yeah,
both ways good, exactly.
Or at least you have tried.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, we have very little control over the output anyway.
Yeah, so it really is a great space to be in. I mean, you take the blame and you take the, you know,
Accolades.
the fame, the appreciation and all of that. It's all yours. So I think with great responsibility comes great power comes great responsibility, but with great responsibility also comes great power, right? So this is exactly what it is, and I'm hoping that this journey, you know, is going to be fun.
Yeah. You know, but what you said is very significant. As actors, you can only do your part. You really can't control how the entire project comes out. So how do you all approach it? Are you like, I want to do my best and then not bother, or
I think
you can't let go?
I think it depends on the film. Like for example, with Spotlight or AK versus AK, it's what you said, where you don't really know what the final. But if you're lucky enough, it's a director's medium. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? We're merely kind of obviously an integral part, but still just a part of that vision. So with, like, in my experience, whether it's Ray or AK or Bhavesh, it's very much, I'm getting to work with visionary filmmakers and I've seen their work and I'm lucky enough that they believe that I can be a part of their vision, and I know that this is going to be something special. I have to just work really hard. I have to be very sincere. I have to commit to the vision, not question them at all, and then hope for the best. But I think with Thar, or now what she's producing, is you do have some sort of a kind of stamp that's not just an actor's kind of a performance, you know. Like if you're able to kind of make sure that the right team comes on board, you're able to kind of sit with your writer and director in pre-production on the script and talk things through, you're able to kind of watch a first cut and maybe even better your performance, you know, go back and do some reshoots if you've kept some money aside. There's a lot of stuff but you have to be ready to assume that responsibility, because it can go either way, you know. Because if it goes wrong, then you can't be like it's his fault, and you have to, you know. And my attitude anyway has always been, if something doesn't work, it's my fault. That's just what I live. Even if, for example, my first film didn't do well, I believe that it's my fault, because I can then grow from that. I can take accountability, 100% accountability, and then I can look back at that experience with the perspective where, what could you have done better? You know, what could you have done better, and try and make sure that, you know, you put yourself in a place where you don't have regrets, you know. And so you keep trying to look at each piece you do and be like, what could I have done better? I like to rewatch stuff a lot, and immediately flaws will start, and you're like, I wish I could have reshot that scene. I would have probably maybe done this, done that, you know.
Oh yeah, good God.
You all rewatch. You all rewatch your movies.
I don't watch my stuff. I watch my stuff after a few months. Like I don't watch it at the screening, or it's just come out today, let's sit and watch.
Why? Why?
Because at that time, I think I'm too attached to it right now. Like it's going to emotionally affect me. It's not going to be an objective analysis of my work. It is going to be an emotional thing. I fucked up this scene, I should have done it this way, and it will affect what I'm doing on that day, because what I'm doing on that day is also important. वो तो मैंने कर दिया है अब. So my learning is that I will look at it once I'm emotionally away from it. I moved on in life, I'm doing something else, it's not going to emotionally affect me. I can look at it objectively and say, yeah, I fucked it up. Or this scene could have been done this way, or this scene could have been done that way. Where if I'm watching it in the screening sometime, in that moment, then I don't know, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it. Because sometimes other people are going to love it. They're going to love it. They're going to like fall head over heels, and they're going to prostrate in front of you. So I want to enjoy that. I want to enjoy people saying, "Apne mujhe hila diya." You know,
Which you get a lot.
And in my head, I'm like, nah, not really. I don't want to. Because once you've experienced that, you know you don't want to experience it again. I don't want to ruin it for myself, because I know these people are going to love it. It's nice. It's good. So I will receive the love. And then 6 months later, 3 months later, one day I'll
whip myself.
open it,
Have you seen season 3 yet?
I have seen season 3 in bits and pieces, So I'll just get up and walk out. Screenings, I don't sit and watch.
I'm a bit different in that way. As I like to watch the rough cuts, I actually enjoy the pain of it's sadistic, but I like to watch the rough cuts. I then like to kind of see how the edit kind of shapes up, and it's amazing to also see the power that filmmakers and editors have in terms of your performance. Like they can really alter it, and then I like to watch the screenings, and then I do obviously after the film has come out. So I do that.
I can watch the edit. Like if the director says, aake dekhiye scene, I will watch it, because then it is still something I can add to. Once it's done and packaged and fully final screening. What about you?
I never watch rough cuts, and Nika is the first thing when they are like, okay guys, so we are ready for the first half rough cut and all that. I'm like, yeah, bring it on, this and that. I see it and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because you're so not used to seeing things unfinished, right? In the middle of it, I was like, okay, like I'm sure I had a couple of sleepless nights, because I'm like, oh my god, okay, this needs to happen, that needs to happen, all of that. So I usually, if I'm only an actor, even if they call me sometimes, I'm like, dude, I'm good, because they'll be asking 20 people to watch the edit and be like, what do you think, and what do you think, and what do you think? And I'm like, you're doing your thing, you don't need 20 more opinions to tell you, ye karo, wo karo. But once it's out is when I see it once. I just see it once and I'm out.
Yeah, you don't want to.
It doesn't really matter to me, because if something is really something that I want to go back to and maybe, just see once again, yes. But otherwise, it's once and
then you're out.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
What about you, Jim? Do you watch?
I can't not watch.
Yeah.
I have to watch it.
Immediately monitor
As soon
later.
as soon as I get the opportunity to watch it, I want to watch it, and then and then I'm done with it.
But do you like your work usually? Or
I'm so particular in general. No, it's painful also. It isn't only pleasure, but there's also pleasure. There are some scenes where I do chuckle along with myself, or I do enjoy the moment, or I think I did this bit well.
Well done. Yeah.
And then there are other bits where I am very particular about, no. I mean, I can, if I watch the edit before it's ready, for example, if somebody gives me that opportunity or invites me to watch it, then I know that wasn't the best take.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know, I remember.
That's very painful.
I remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To see a take which is not your best.
It wasn't this. Why has this been? Why? I want the answers. I mean, and so as far as this producer thing goes, and even as the actor, I have particular taste, let's say, and I'm a particular person as well. So the combination of those two things, I know that it may not be what other people like, or it may not be what they think will get the most traction or things like that, but for me, I feel that the story is just the most important thing in the whole world when you make a film. And then if I feel the story is not being represented with any details, sound, editing, production design, costumes, poster, way of marketing, all of it deeply bothers and frustrates me. And then I get it though, they must have some algorithm for why this poster will be better than the one I imagined, or why giving away the whole movie in the trailer is better than, keeping it a mystery. I'm dying to see when we get more, oh my God, I'm dying to see when we get a bit more creative, even with how we market things. Like, just put out a 1-minute scene. Don't say anything.
That's such a good idea.
Oh yeah, that's
Just
really
put it
easy,
out.
actually.
That's really interesting.
I hope things like that continue to happen, and we get, it just basically to broaden our palettes. And I know other people may not like this, but this is how I see it, or this potential is here, or why has nobody explored this, or, instead things become a formula and people stick to that formula, and that's what depresses all of us.
That's a guttural effort, Jim. Yeah.
But rather than ignoring and being like, it's so important that
you feel it.
Yeah, you feel it and you stay true to what you're feeling, because honestly, that's the way to sort of break the clutter and really do something which the industry probably doesn't do very often. Like it's minds like these, right, who want to sort of, who think differently, who can do it differently. And I think that's we need that, yeah. It's become so stale. Like everything about films here, most of them is so stale. From the stories we tell, the performances we have, to the marketing that we do, it's just stale. And I think that, I mean, it really, as you said, it's so frustrating. So that's why I said, you either I'll be like, I'll resign to what is, or take a step back, or I'll be able to,
Also, it's scary. Like being very particular with your taste is frightening. It can bomb.
But
the
Jim,
whole
I
thing
personally
can
think
bomb.
it's amazing. I think you would rather have this than,
That's
just.
what, yeah.
Also, I feel it's so interesting to sort of hear and see and experience new things and new ideas. Something like he said, just put out one scene, and
That
I've
was
always,
amazing. I might just use that.
and no,
I'll
but
give you credit for it.
and I've seen that in the past, like that right now. Send him the check, yeah. But it's so interesting, and I think actors, we're just not actors, right? We're also creative minds. One of the dreams that I have is what Kirti was saying, that putting like-minded people together, and creative produce stuff. Like, I'm constantly seeing, say, actors and being like, I would love to see him in this role and her in that role, and we keep talking, and I have, like, all the FOMO Shots girls, I have stuff written, I have written for all three of them. So I'm saying it's so interesting to sort of see, this director will really go, I think this DOP will really get along, and they will find their own language. And I think as creative people, you're constantly, you have 1,000 ideas, of course. It's very hard to put things together, people in a room, get the funding, like you were saying, which is the toughest part. But I think it's a great space to be in. And if you can sort of see that through, like she's producing, he producing, I co-produced 3 years ago, and it's a very tough, it's very, very tough. It's easier said than done, but it's not just about the money, I mean, there are things that you have to, once you've made the film and the release, or, like all of that. But those are battles, I think, that are worth fighting for. Because it's just incredible, that feeling,
Yeah, I mean, when you're sitting in a room, this is exactly what it is. When you're sitting in a room and you have 5 people, 10 people who are, coming up with different things, different ideas. Oh my God, like that space in that room is so stimulating. It's so mentally, it charges you like, oh my God, this is exactly, it reminds you of what you're here for, And thankfully, we are all in a position of power to really now not play to the gallery, We can really step aside, and so it's there, and there are a lot of people, trust me, when you start looking for people, your tribe, there's so many of them who think like you and they want to be a part of what you're doing,
Just to kind of come in there, I think obviously, see, all of us have had a very different journey, and one has to kind of, be aware of that, and like, they've worked so hard and done such a variety of work, to kind of be in this position that they are in today, and I think that I've kind of had the privilege in a way to work less, in a sense. Of course, I also want to be on set all the time, and I want to do this and do that, and but which is what Kirti was also saying, is that, look, if you come from privilege like I do, you can use that in many different ways. You have the opportunity to either, go hang out at all the parties and, which is also fine if that's what makes you happy, you know what I mean? If that sort of validation is going to float your boat, you have to be happy at the end of the day. You got to be fulfilled. So for me, that was never really the thing, in terms of, I didn't see it as a popularity contest. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done Bhavesh Joshi, wouldn't have done Mirza, wouldn't have done Thar or anything, you know what I mean? So I have been very frustrated to work less. It's been very painful, but also I'm really proud of each piece, because what they're talking about, I've had the ability to do in my own small way, right from my first and second film. And with Thar, that kind of became full blown then, for the first time ever, where it was all, you know what I mean? And now that I've kind of done this, it's not like I never want to go back to a situation where I have no control. I would love to as well, but it's got to be the right environment, and I think that's kind of really, really the key. But I think it's amazing to see everybody kind of have this hunger to kind of show, have an extension of themselves through their work, you know what I mean? And not just kind of something that's written by somebody else, and you feel like, you kind of have to mold your personality to I feel like we're in a, with the OTT spaces, especially now, we can kind of, like, she's written stuff, she's co-produced stuff, Jim, I'm sure, has a lot of ideas. She's producing stuff. He will make his own stuff. So it's like, as time goes on, you know, like even you see with like Rami and stuff, for example. Rami is
I love that.
Exactly. Is a great example of a person that wrote a show that is so kind of set in the world that he understands. He inhabits that world. He understands the socio-political, the religious kind of conflicts that kind of come with, and it's so personal and it's so entertaining to everyone because it's honest. We talk about playing to the galleries. There's no need really to do it. You know, like now the whole Kantara thing and RRR and everybody's trying to kind of do the same. That stuff works because it's honest to those people.
Yes, exactly.
Honesty
It's
is
like Bad Sisters, for example. You know, she wrote it, the oldest sister, she wrote it in the lockdown and she produced it and, you know, put it together, and people are doing stuff, you know, and anything which is authentic to you will resonate with people. You know, you always don't have to. I know for producers and platforms now, whatever sells, there's a formula and things like that, but I think anything that is honest and authentic to the maker will sort of work. I mean, that's the nice belief.
Just to ask a contrarian question, do you never play anything unlike you? Like you never go out and say, "मैं ऐसा हूँ ही नहीं," but I am an actor. I'll go and do it. I'll go and play this character.
Of course you do.
You can't be not you.
In a way, but
I mean, of course. I mean, it's going to be my body and my face and my speech.
You're bringing a lot of yourself to.
No, but I've never done anything that is close to Shayoni. I only say no to.
Correct.
I have
So
only
these,
said.
I mean, these shows, I love these shows. I love Rami. There's a show called Dave on Disney Plus. You'll love it.
I've seen
It's
it.
crazy. It's
More
and in fact, these were going to be part of my answer to your first question about the pandemic thing and the golden era, because that golden era hasn't come, and that
Not
is the
for
golden
us,
era
no, it
that
hasn't come.
will. I think it will come through this period,
Through
because
this,
right now some people are like,
we are
"अरे,
transitioning into
लोगों को देखना क्या है?"
But you know, Kaman, that you think we become more cautious about filmmaking for various reasons? Is there more caution now,
I mean,
which is
like-
why we're
like
doing a certain kind?
Jim said right off the
Like
bat.
outside
that
of commerce, you're saying. Outside of the commerce
No,
caution.
not just commerce, the kind of politics of the film or the outlook of the film.
I think
Outside the commerce.
Yeah, outside the commerce. Outside.
I think Jim said it kind of right off the bat that we kind of like to believe sometimes that it's not a commercial thing.
Yeah.
But deep, I mean, like the people that are kind of investing the money, they either kind of want to have a good balance sheet at the end of the year, or they want to keep their jobs because they're answering kind of higher up. So they have to show that they don't care. I mean, they are kind of sensitive maybe to your vision or to whoever's making the film, but they have to answer to someone. Everybody has to answer to someone, and ultimately that pressure.
unless it's your own money.
Unless it's your own money. So that pressure comes from the top.
You'll have to answer to your children. What have you done?
My mother, when I produced, my mother is like, I can't believe you're burning your own money. I said, listen, but
I think eventually somebody spends money, is what he's saying.
That's what
Somebody takes money out of their pocket and
Exactly,
they put
right?
it there,
So there
and
has-
so they're not going to say, "Jao, isko jala do."
For example, I don't think a show like Dave could be made here just now.
Just now.
Because
Maybe
people
just
are
now.
too careful about too many things. I mean, he takes on the political system, he takes on the celebrity system, a lot of his,
Suddenly
in
in the
his
fourth
name is...
episode, you think you're watching a funny show and it turns into a psychological thriller.
But like I get like Dave may not happen right away, but like if you look at action hero AK versus AK, those
was meta.
films
So it will reach
you
there
wouldn't have
eventually, I
thought
think.
that that's going to happen maybe 7 or 8 years ago when Jim did Neerja and I did and Mirza. You know what I mean? But there's that evolution that he's
So
talking
Rami
about.
will happen before Dave, and then Dave
also
will
I
come.
feel as an industry, we're also teething, right? We're also understanding things are getting streamlined as we speak. So, and
They're super chaotic right now, but it's going to
yes,
lead to.
and you
एक
have to
दो
hopefully
चलेगा
go
ना।
through the
Lead to
chaos
order,
and
yes.
then sort
Exactly.
of.
वो एक दो
It's the
चलेगा तो फिर चल
the
जाएगा.
dark
Distilled.
night of the industry. There's like we're
Yeah,
going through
one
the
So
dark
it's
person will
night.
have
it's
to
getting
come.
better. Do you
No,
find that?
it's super
Yeah,
chaotic
it's too
right
early
now.
to say.
Yeah.
It's
People
right now
are-
it's all over the place.
Don't know.
People are shooting in the dark a little bit, which is fine because when it is dark and you don't know where the aim is, कि मारना कहाँ पे लोगों को चाहिए क्या. So people are shooting in the dark. फिर एक दो लगेगा, उसका भी formula बनेगा. But at least people will learn that कि अच्छा ये क्यों लगा because it was something new, it was something inventive, and I believe, again coming back to the first question, that the world has changed after the pandemic.
It's a
ये
circle.
हो क्यों रहा है? मेरी philosophy ये हो क्यों रहा है? Because pandemic हुआ है, सबके साथ बहुत कुछ हुआ है,
Yeah.
internally, externally,
Yeah,
with the world.
Yeah.
People have changed. People don't know in what ways they've changed. Even people don't know. We don't know. I don't know in what ways I have changed. I'm realizing slowly. World is realizing slowly. So लोगों से पूछोगे आपको देखना क्या है, उनको नहीं पता है अभी. It is when they are shown something that they want to watch now, as per who they are now, is when they will say, "कि हाँ मेरे को ये देखना था." But I didn't know how to articulate it because there was no reference to it.
Yeah.
So that new voice will come. That new voice will be discovered. It won't be invented. It will be like, "Oh shit, ये देखना था लोगों को, Dave देखना था लोगों को."
Inshallah.
लोगों को भी नहीं पता था कि लोगों को Dave देखना है. So people have changed. People don't know what they want to watch. People who are making. We are making stories that we thought of in 2019. That's what's happening. We thought of a story in 2019. We tried to make it in 2020. बंद हो गया तो अब 2022 में बना रहे. But that was a story you thought about 3 years ago when the world was different.
Yeah, come
You were
in, come
different.
in. Yeah. Yes, come in, come in.
Sorry, my first question spiel is over.
I think that there will always be McDonald's. And there's nothing wrong with McDonald's. McDonald's is a cheap food for people that want to eat it. It is fatty and salty and fried. And
It's all good for you.
It gives you that joy in that moment.
But I know what he's arriving at. yeah.
It'll always be there, right? It'll just always kind of be there, and there's no point fighting against it or argue, or I think. And again, I don't have anything against McDonald's. I order it sometimes. It's tasty. The problem is that it's
Definitely not getting a brand deal.
it's homogenized mediocrity to an extent, right? It's homogenized. The idea is that it's always the same, the way you get it, same packaging, world over, factory. You know, it's just, it'll look the same, it'll taste the same here or in another country or in somewhere else. There's that comfort, it's cheap. These are things that'll always just sell, and there's no point. I think what you guys said earlier, the only antidote to disillusionment is doing it yourself, creating it yourself. And otherwise, you'll just constantly be thinking about whether it can get better or whether it is better or whether it can get worse. Forget it. It is what it is.
Make your own burger.
Yeah, make your own. But you know, just to add to that, sorry.
No, go ahead. Shani. I'll go after you. I'll go after you.
No, just to add to that, which is so well put, homogenized mediocrity. But when Shonali Bose was making Margarita with a straw, she was going and shopping, you know, trying to get the budget, and Lunchbox had just come out. And Lunchbox was made, and then nobody wanted to pick it up for a while, till probably a Karan Johar came in, and you know, it traveled the festivals, you know, the biggest festivals in the world. And when she went to with Margarita, apparently she was told that, no, you know, this is great and it's really sensitive, but you know, get something like Lunchbox, you know, because
That's
Lunchbox
the thing with the industry.
Lunchbox had worked.
Same
And then she finally got production, like the, you know, Viacom came in, but it was co-production. And then I remember we had finished the Delhi sked. We had to go to New York, and the producer who was going to be, he sort of backed out, and we had no money. But they were like, no, we are going to shoot. I remember we were in New York. They had no money. There was one day, apparently, they couldn't pay the extras because it was literally like hand to mouth. And when you're doing a production in a foreign location, it was incredible that Shonali and Nilesh could pull that off, you know. And then Margarita with a straw did what it did. And then other people went back, and then they were like, no, get a Margarita with a straw now, you know. So that's what happens. I think, you know, the industry is something that works. Now everyone wants to churn the same thing, and it's a thing of the formula. So, but then we always have to be grateful for people and producers, because, you know, ultimately you need money, and filmmaking is a bloody expensive
It's very
business.
expensive, yeah.
That people who've always have had the passion and the, you know, the goodness to sort of put their money behind these projects that sort of paved the way for other films to be made, you know.
I think also, you know, it's very easy to focus on negativity because it sells. And every year you can either focus on the stuff that comes out that people criticize and don't like to sell newspapers or clickbait, but there's always timeless pieces every year. Monica, Oh My Darling is a fantastic film. Script's been around for ages. You know, I'm sure Anvita must have been trying to make Kala for a very long time. I don't think it happened overnight. So ultimately, the pieces are there. You know what I mean? If you're in this negative kind of state of mind where we're terrible and everything is bad and I'm going to blame this one, and take accountability, I'm saying, for it. Go out there, find something. If you can't find something, create it. I think it's a lot healthier to kind of have that attitude, because there are a lot of talented people here.
Incredible amount.
There are a lot of talented people here, and there are some great films being made, you know, and I just think that maybe it's somebody else likes the bad stuff that we think is is, I mean, we think it's mediocre, but somebody gets great joy out of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I think that's what he meant, right?
Yeah, with
McDonald's,
McDonald's,
everybody likes that, you know. So that could probably
exactly.
work
No, but I
for
think that's
somebody,
what
yeah.
also differentiates us from the general audience, right? The way we view cinema versus what they see, and you know, I'm not saying they don't like the
But
good
I
stuff
honestly feel
as
the
well.
audience is very smart.
They're getting better. They're
And
getting
you
better.
know, everyone's watching global stuff. You know, people are watching Korean shows, Hungarian shows, British shows, and everyone's sort of
that's why-
exposed to a lot of, like, you know,
Child, that's why
earlier.
they are not accepting crap
That's
here.
exactly
Because
what,
they're
you know.
able to watch so much outside.
And we hear this a lot, right? That, oh, the audience is not ready for it, or the audience will reject it. But I feel, you know, you're just giving yourself too much importance. You know, why would you patronize the audience? They're very, very
also
smart.
is coming from people who've not stepped out of Juhu and Bangalore. No, it is. I mean, I'm not being this thing. I have written also in the past, and I've been in rooms with filmmakers and say, ये बरेली की लड़की है, ऐसा क्यों करेगी? मैंने सर आप जूहू से बाहर नहीं निकले 5 साल से. I'm not saying this thing, but with such confidence saying कि बरेली की लड़की कैसा करेगी? You know, I'm not from Bareilly, but I'm from Delhi. I grew up here. I grew up in a certain kind of atmosphere. So I mean, and I am trying to be careful with myself because the more success you get as an actor or in films, you isolate yourself from the rest of the world. Your world becomes smaller because all you hang around with are actors or filmmakers or this thing, and all the interaction with the outside world is, sir, मैं आपका बहुत बड़ा fan हूँ, अरे thank you, एक photo खिंचाते. That's all. So you stop seeing कि हो क्या रहा है, what are the 20-year-olds actually talking about?
And it's so insular, right?
Try to write a young show. When I get a young show, 20-22-year-olds, एक लड़का को सेक्स करना है, उसको सेक्स नहीं मिल रहा है, एक लड़का टिंडर पे है, वो बहुत सेक्स कर रहा है, एक नर्ड है और एक टोकन LGBT कैरेक्टर है. And these are the only 4 kinds of 20-year-olds that exist. But when I go out in the world and I meet 20-year-olds, they are older than me in some ways. The kind of stuff they are exposed to, the ways in which they are self-aware. So I'm saying, ये क्यों हो रहा है? Because we are isolating. We are not even in touch with
echo chamber
this thing.
of
And then we
Juhu
sit in our
background.
rooms and we say कि audience को ना
Totally.
ये नहीं चाहिए, audience को
And
वो
those
चाहिए.
inside jokes and wahi apne matlab, then you'll never be able to. Sorry, please.
Actually, I think that it's a lack of confidence in your ability to make what you want to be made
That's also there.
clear. What do you mean the audience won't get it? Are you kidding? Of course they'll get it. I'm confident they'll get what my subtext from my line. I'm confident. Are you unconfident as a filmmaker? That you won't be able to make it clear your point? That seems odd.
नहीं, and if you are laughing at the joke, then how do you assume that if I am finding it funny, but ना लोगों को समझ नहीं आएगा?
Yeah.
Which is where
Talking
this-
down,
अच्छा, oh,
writing down.
हम लोग smart हैं. हमारा ये
It's so
वो है,
pretentious.
We'll show a recap for the audience to
No,
understand.
and then you
Yeah,
underline,
call
there
back.
is no subtext,
Yeah.
there is no subliminal sort of, you know, like, बहुत बार होता है ना कि यार मुझे कुछ दिख गया, इसको कुछ और दिखा, और you know, the more you, with every viewing, you sort of discover something, and that's the joy of, you know, watching something really good and well written or well performed, you know. But ये इतना underline कर के फिर highlighter भी दो उस पे, you know, सब कुछ आप spell out कर रहे हो audience के लिए, क्यों?
All right. And on that very hopeful, lovely note, thank you so much for being on this table. It's been my absolute pleasure. I had a ball of a time listening to everything you had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you. Thank you for being so lovely.